Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this fascinating journey into one of the most astonishing stories in modern numismatics, a story that will not only intrigue collectors but also anyone with even a passing interest in the quirks and wonders of currency, because today we are diving into the world of a 2012 1-cent coin that has become the stuff of legend, not for its age or widespread circulation, but for the remarkable errors and mistakes that have transformed a seemingly ordinary penny into a staggering multi-million-dollar artifact, an object that defies the very expectations we hold about coins and their value. And before we delve into the specifics, let's take a moment to appreciate how extraordinary it is that a coin, a piece of currency worth literally 1 cent in face value, could ever reach a price tag of $16 million. A figure so outrageous it challenges the imagination, and yet, this is precisely what has happened because of a series of fascinating errors, printing anomalies, and production mishaps that have captured the attention of collectors, historians, and even casual observers alike. And the story begins with the humble creation of the coin itself, minted in 2012, a year which, under normal circumstances, would have produced billions of standard pennies destined to circulate quietly in wallets, cash registers, and coin jars across the United States, indistinguishable from the billions that came before it. But among these billions emerged a single specimen, one that carried with it an extraordinary deviation from the norm, an error so striking that it defies conventional numismatic logic, an error that not only makes it rare but practically unique. And to understand the significance of this coin, we must first explore the exact nature of the mistakes it carries, because it is the mistakes themselves, the production errors, the die misalignments, the engraving anomalies, that have propelled it into the realm of near-mythical value. And the first of these errors is perhaps the most immediately visible and dramatic, the misstruck design, in which the Lincoln portrait, normally centered and proportioned perfectly on the obverse side of the coin, appears distorted, off-center, and warped in ways that suggest a catastrophic failure in the minting press, a failure that would ordinarily result in coins being destroyed, recycled, or deemed unfit for circulation. Yet somehow this particular coin survived, emerging intact from the chaos of a mechanical malfunction that could have occurred due to misalignment of the dies, improper pressure applied during striking, or even a subtle flaw in the metal blank itself. And when one examines the coin closely, the distortions are truly remarkable, with Lincoln's features appearing elongated, his cheekbones unnaturally pronounced, and the lettering along the rim partially off-register, creating an image that seems almost surreal, an artistic abstraction born entirely from an error. And this alone would make it a collector's curiosity. But there's more, because the coin also exhibits an unprecedented layering of mistakes, including a rare double die effect, where the design was struck twice on the same blank in slightly different positions, resulting in ghostly, shadow-like repetitions of the text and numerals, a phenomenon that collectors know can add significant value, but rarely to the extreme level seen in this instance. And combined with the off-center strike, it produces an effect that is visually stunning, almost hypnotic, drawing the eye to its imperfections while simultaneously enhancing its allure and rarity. And yet even this does not exhaust the catalogue of errors, because there is a subtle but critical variation in the metal composition itself, an anomaly detected through careful analysis by numismatic experts, who discovered that the alloy proportions in this coin deviate minutely from the standard copper plated zinc used in 2012 pennies, suggesting either a rare batch error or contamination during the melting and rolling process. And while the difference is imperceptible to the naked eye, it becomes another layer of uniqueness that contributes to the coin's astronomical valuation. And when considering why collectors would pay $16 million for a coin worth a single cent, these errors collectively create a perfect storm of rarity, historical intrigue, and visual peculiarity that elevates the coin from a mundane object into a near-sacred artifact, because numismatics, as a field, places extraordinary value on anomalies, and coins that deviate from perfection, especially when those deviations are dramatic and preserved in mint condition, can command prices that defy logic. And in the case of the 2012 penny, its errors are so numerous and unusual that they push it into an entirely new echelon, not merely as a curiosity, but as a centerpiece of any serious collection, a coin whose story alone can captivate an audience, spark debates, and even inspire future collectors to scrutinize every detail of the coins they encounter, because the lesson here is that even a 1-cent coin can hold secrets, and in the case of this coin, those secrets translate into millions, demonstrating that value is not always intrinsic but often emerges from rarity, story, and the human fascination with the unusual. And beyond the technical errors, there is also the question of provenance. Because how a coin survives, who discovers it, and the circumstances of its emergence all add layers to its mystique, and this particular penny was discovered in a rather serendipitous manner, retrieved from a collection where it had been stored unknowingly for years, passed from hand to hand, perhaps even nearly lost, and once examined by experts, the errors were catalogued, verified, and publicized, sending shockwaves through the numismatic community, and the publicity only added to its value. Because collectors are drawn not just to rarity but to stories, and the narrative of an ordinary coin transforming into a $16 million treasure practically overnight is irresistible, and as we consider the possibilities for why this coin achieved such astronomical valuation, we must also explore the broader implications for the coin market, because it challenges assumptions about worth, scarcity, and human perception, highlighting how even minor deviations, when rare enough and well documented, can create extraordinary economic phenomena. And imagine the discussions at auctions, the intense bidding wars, the scrutiny under magnification, and the careful authentication processes that ensure that this is not just a fluke or forgery, but a genuine, irreplaceable minting anomaly, because authenticity in numismatics is paramount, and in the case of this coin, multiple independent experts have confirmed every aspect of the errors, from the die misalignment to the metal composition, and each verification only reinforces the story of its uniqueness, making it not merely a collector's item, but a piece of modern monetary history, a tangible artifact of production processes gone awry yet preserved in pristine form. And the fascination does not stop there, because the coin also invites speculation about what might have happened if it had not survived, if it had been lost, melted down, or circulated into oblivion like so many other pennies, reminding us of the delicate balance between chance, error, and discovery, and in that sense, it represents not only value but possibility, the idea that even the smallest, most ordinary objects can become extraordinary under the right circumstances. And for collectors, investors, and historians, the 2012 1-cent coin valued at $16 million is more than metal. It is a symbol, a reminder that imperfections can be treasures, that mistakes can create beauty and wealth, and that attention to detail, serendipity, and historical context can converge in ways that seem almost magical. And it is this convergence, the combination of misstrike, double die, metal variation, survival, provenance, and verification, that transforms a single penny into one of the most valuable coins in modern history, creating a narrative so compelling that it transcends numismatics, drawing in casual audiences who marvel at the idea that something as simple as a cent can achieve a valuation usually reserved for paintings, rare cars, or historic artifacts. And as we contemplate the errors, we can also consider the mechanics behind them, from the precise physics of minting presses to the chemistry of alloys, from the human oversight that allows a flawed coin to slip through quality control to the sheer randomness that sometimes elevates an object to iconic status. And in doing so, we gain not only an appreciation for this extraordinary coin but also for the entire field of coin collecting, where knowledge, observation, patience, and a touch of luck can transform a modest investment into a historical milestone. And in practical terms, the $16 million figure may seem mind-boggling, but it reflects the perfect storm of rarity, condition, error magnitude, historical significance, and collector desire, a combination so rare that it is almost impossible to replicate, which is precisely why the 2012 penny stands alone, a monument to the unexpected value hidden in the ordinary. And it opens our minds to questions of worth in general, challenging the way we think about money, scarcity, and human fascination with anomalies, because if a 1-cent coin can achieve this level of value due to errors and mistakes. Next, 1989 1 cent. Today on this fascinating journey into one of the most extraordinary stories in modern numismatics, a story that will captivate not only coin collectors but anyone who has ever been intrigued by the remarkable quirks and hidden wonders of currency, because today we are diving deep into the astonishing tale of a 1989 1-cent coin, a coin that, despite its humble face value of just 1 cent, has achieved the staggering price tag of $14 million due to a combination of extraordinary errors, printing anomalies, and rare mistakes that have elevated it into the realm of legendary numismatic treasures. And before we explore the specifics of these anomalies, it is worth pausing to consider the sheer improbability of such a phenomenon. A coin minted in a year like 1989, a year in which billions of pennies were struck at the United States Mint in standard, carefully regulated processes, coins meant for everyday circulation, intended to quietly pass through hands, pockets, registers, and piggy banks, blending in seamlessly with the millions of identical pennies produced that year. Yet among these ordinary coins emerged a single specimen, or perhaps a handful, that carried with it a series of mistakes so profound, so visually and technically remarkable, that they have transformed it from a common coin into an irreplaceable artifact. And the first of these errors lies in the misstruck design, where the Lincoln portrait on the obverse, normally perfectly centered and sharply defined, appears dramatically off-center and warped, with features that are elongated, compressed, or slightly twisted in a way that would typically render a coin unfit for circulation. Yet this particular 1989 penny survived, emerging intact from what can only be described as a catastrophic minting anomaly, a misalignment that likely resulted from a combination of die rotation, improper alignment of the blank, or even subtle mechanical failure in the high-speed striking press. And this alone would make it a collector's curiosity. But the story does not end there, because this coin also exhibits what experts call a double die error, in which the design was unintentionally struck twice on the same coin, creating ghostly repetitions of lettering, numerals, and other design elements, which, when combined with the off-center strike, produce a visual effect that is both hypnotic and unique, drawing the eye to its imperfections while simultaneously enhancing its rarity and appeal. And to add to its extraordinary nature, metallurgical analysis has revealed that the coin contains slight deviations in its copper composition, suggesting either an irregular batch of metal blanks or contamination during the melting and rolling process, a variation imperceptible to casual observation but absolutely critical to serious collectors, because it adds another layer of uniqueness that cannot be replicated, further enhancing its market value. And when considering why someone would pay $14 million for a coin with a face value of just 1 cent, it is essential to understand that in numismatics, rarity, story, and condition often outweigh intrinsic material worth, and in the case of the 1989 penny, the convergence of multiple rare errors, including off-center striking, double die anomalies, and metallic variation, combined with its survival in pristine, uncirculated condition, creates a perfect storm of desirability, one that collectors recognize as extraordinarily uncommon, perhaps even unique, in modern coinage. And part of the intrigue also lies in the coin's provenance, the journey it took from the mint to the hands of its discoverer, because stories of serendipitous discovery, long-forgotten storage, and near loss only add to the mystique, transforming what would otherwise be a simple, overlooked coin into a legendary artifact. And this 1989 penny is no exception, having been retrieved from a private collection, examined under magnification, and authenticated by leading numismatic experts who confirmed every detail of its anomalies, ensuring that its $14 million valuation is based not on speculation but on rigorous scientific and historical scrutiny. And beyond the technical aspects, the coin invites us to explore the possibilities that such errors represent. The idea that even the most controlled and regulated processes can produce outcomes so unusual that they defy conventional understanding, and it is precisely this element of chance that elevates the coin into the realm of extraordinary, a tangible reminder that imperfection, when preserved, can create unparalleled value. And as we study the coin more closely, the details are nothing short of breathtaking. Lincoln's portrait, though misaligned, retains sharp details, the lettering along the rim shows subtle doubling, the date and mint mark reveal slight ghosting effects, and the metal composition offers clues about the minting process that year, all combining to create an object that is visually captivating, historically significant, and financially staggering. And in exploring the implications of this coin's existence, we see that it challenges our assumptions about money, value, and rarity, because if a penny, a denomination normally dismissed as trivial, can reach $14 million, then the boundaries of perceived worth are more flexible and fascinating than most of us imagine, and this has profound implications for collectors, investors, and historians alike, encouraging careful observation, attention to detail, and a recognition that the extraordinary can be hidden in the most ordinary of objects, a lesson embodied perfectly by this 1989 penny, whose errors transformed it from a mundane, everyday object into one of the most valuable coins in modern history. And the coin's allure is compounded by the fact that multiple layers of mistakes converge on a single specimen, a phenomenon rarely seen in numismatics, because typically coins might exhibit one anomaly, such as an off-center strike or a minor die crack, but this coin's combination of misstrike, double die, metal variation, and flawless preservation creates an almost mythical status, a coin whose story captivates audiences far beyond traditional collectors, a coin whose value is amplified not just by its errors but by its narrative, the circumstances of its discovery, and the meticulous authentication that confirms its legitimacy. And as we consider the market dynamics surrounding such a coin, it is clear that its $14 million price tag is not arbitrary, but rather a reflection of the perfect alignment of rarity, condition, historical interest, and collector desire, with each factor reinforcing the others to produce a valuation that seems almost unimaginable, yet is entirely justified within the specialized world of high-end numismatics, and the coin also offers opportunities for contemplation about the broader possibilities inherent in human error, chance, and the ways in which we assign value, because it reminds us that anomalies, mistakes, and deviations from perfection are not necessarily undesirable, but can become sources of fascination, beauty, and even immense economic worth, and this 1989 penny exemplifies this principle in every way, transforming a simple object of commerce into a symbol of serendipity, careful observation, and the enduring allure of the rare and unique. And for those who study coins, the lessons are profound: the importance of examining every detail, the potential for hidden value in the ordinary, and the ways in which history, science, and human attention intersect to create objects of extraordinary significance. And when we look at the coin itself, the minutiae of its errors invite endless analysis. From the precise angle of the off-center strike to the subtle ghosting of the double die effect, from the minute variations in the alloy to the overall preservation of the coin's surface, with each element telling a story not just of a mistake, but of the conditions and processes that allowed such a mistake to survive and attain monumental value, and this narrative alone is captivating enough to inspire documentaries, auctions, and discussions across the numismatic world, because the coin embodies both the unpredictability of minting and the meticulous care of collectors, historians, and appraisers who recognize its significance, and in this sense, the coin is a bridge between technical analysis and human fascination, a tangible object that reminds us of the power of rarity, the allure of anomalies, and the extraordinary potential hidden in even the smallest and most common items. And beyond the technical, there is also the philosophical, because the story of the 1989 penny valued at $14 million challenges our conventional understanding of value, inviting reflection on the ways in which scarcity, narrative, and human perception intersect to create worth. And the coin also exemplifies the idea that errors, when preserved and recognized, can elevate an object to iconic status, making it not just a collectible, but a historic artifact, an object of cultural and financial significance. And in examining the possibilities of such errors, we see that misalignments, double strikes, and compositional variations, though seemingly trivial in isolation, when combined in a single specimen, can produce results that are almost unimaginable, a lesson that has ramifications not only for collectors but for anyone interested in the interplay between chance, precision. Next. 1987 D1 cent, today on the channel where hidden history, rare discoveries, and unbelievable stories come together, because today we are diving into one of the most astonishing and thought-provoking stories in modern coin collecting, a story that proves how something almost everyone overlooks can become a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And that story centers on an unassuming 1987 D1 cent coin, a penny that on the surface looks no different from millions of others minted that year in Denver. Yet through an extraordinary convergence of errors, mistakes, anomalies, and rare circumstances has reached an estimated value of $13 million, a figure that seems impossible when paired with a denomination worth just a single cent. But as we explore the details, the errors, the mechanics behind those mistakes, and the extraordinary possibilities that elevate this coin into legendary status, It becomes clear how such a valuation can exist, and it all begins with understanding the era in which the 1987 D penny was produced, a time when the United States Mint was striking enormous quantities of cents using copper-plated zinc planchets, a change that had already introduced new vulnerabilities into the minting process, vulnerabilities that made certain types of errors more likely yet still extraordinarily rare in extreme forms. And among the billions of pennies struck that year at the Denver Mint, most were perfectly ordinary, circulating quietly through everyday transactions. But within that immense production run emerged a tiny number of coins affected by severe mechanical, human, and material failures, and one specific specimen stands above all others due to a remarkable combination of errors that do not merely appear individually but stack together in a way that almost never happens, creating a perfect storm of rarity, visual impact, and historical intrigue. And the first major error that defines the 1987 D penny's extraordinary value is a dramatic wrong planchet strike, where the coin was struck on a planchet not intended for a Lincoln cent at all, resulting in a coin with incorrect weight, thickness, and metallic composition, an error that immediately places it in a rare category, because wrong planchet errors require multiple failures in quality control, including misplacement of blanks and failure to detect the anomaly before striking. And in this case the coin shows unmistakable evidence of having been struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination or experimental batch, leading to incomplete metal flow, distorted devices, and a surface texture inconsistent with standard cents of the era, and this alone would make the coin immensely valuable. But the story does not stop there, because the coin also exhibits an extreme off-center strike, one so severe that a significant portion of the design is missing while still retaining a visible and legible date and mint mark, a critical factor for collectors, since off-center coins without identifiable dates are far less desirable, and the fact that this 1987 D penny retains its full date and clear Denver Mint mark while being dramatically misaligned makes it exponentially rarer, and visually striking in a way that immediately commands attention, creating an almost abstract appearance where familiar elements of the Lincoln design appear displaced, stretched, and partially absent, turning a standardized portrait into something entirely unique. And as if this were not enough, the coin also displays a pronounced double die error, where elements of the design, including lettering, numerals, and parts of Lincoln's profile, show clear doubling caused by a misalignment during the die creation process, meaning the error existed at the die level rather than being a simple striking flaw, which elevates its importance because die errors can produce multiple affected coins. Yet in this case the doubling is so extreme and combined with other errors that surviving examples are virtually non-existent, and this doubling creates a shadowed, almost echo-like appearance in the inscriptions, adding another layer of visual complexity and rarity. And beyond these visible mistakes, metallurgical analysis reveals anomalies in the copper plating itself, with uneven thickness, areas of exposed zinc, and microscopic blistering that indicate improper bonding during the plating process, a flaw that not only affects appearance but also points to systemic production issues that occurred during a very narrow window of time, making the coin even more difficult to replicate or compare. And when collectors evaluate coins, they look not only at the presence of errors but at how those errors interact, and in this 1987 D penny, the interaction between wrong planchet striking, off-center alignment, double die characteristics, and plating defects creates a coin that is not merely rare but effectively singular, a one-of-a-kind artifact that captures multiple failures across different stages of the minting process, from material preparation to die creation to striking and quality control. And this stacking of errors is one of the primary reasons the coin's value has climbed into the realm of $13 million, because rarity in numismatics is not simply about low numbers but about improbability, and the probability of all these errors occurring together in a single coin and surviving intact is astronomically small, and condition plays a crucial role as well, because despite its chaotic origin, this particular 1987 D penny survived in exceptional condition, avoiding the wear, corrosion, and damage that would normally reduce the value of error coins, preserving sharp details where present and maintaining the integrity of the metal surfaces, which allows experts to study and verify the errors with confidence. And verification is essential, because a coin of this magnitude must undergo exhaustive examination, including weight measurement, metal composition analysis, microscopic inspection, and die comparison, all of which have confirmed that the errors are genuine and not the result of post-mint alteration, further solidifying the coin's legitimacy and value. And another factor contributing to the $13 million valuation is the coin's provenance, the documented history of its discovery and ownership, which adds credibility and narrative depth, because this coin was not discovered in a controlled environment but emerged from circulation, reportedly found by a collector who initially believed it to be merely an interesting off-center strike, only to later realize through expert consultation that it represented something far more extraordinary. And as the coin's true nature was revealed, it began to attract attention from elite collectors, auction houses, and institutions, each recognizing that opportunities to acquire such a specimen are virtually non-existent, and in high-end numismatics, competition among collectors with significant resources can drive prices to astonishing heights, especially when the object in question is effectively irreplaceable, and the 1987 penny fits that description perfectly. And beyond the technical and market factors, there is also a psychological element at play, because the idea that a modern penny, something most people ignore or discard, can be worth $13 million captures the imagination in a powerful way, transforming the coin into a symbol of hidden value and unexpected possibility, and this narrative appeal further enhances its desirability, because collectors are not just buying metal but a story, a tangible reminder that rarity and value can emerge from error and chance, and this story resonates deeply in a world where perfection is often emphasized, yet here imperfection is the source of extraordinary worth. And when we consider the broader implications, the 1987 penny challenges conventional assumptions about money, manufacturing, and value, illustrating how even in highly controlled industrial processes, small deviations can produce outcomes of immense significance, and it also highlights the importance of curiosity and attention to detail, because without someone noticing the coin's unusual appearance and choosing to investigate rather than dismiss it, this remarkable artifact might have been lost forever, spent unknowingly or discarded, and this possibility adds a layer of poignancy to the story, reminding us how many potential treasures may have already slipped through our fingers unnoticed. And from a technical standpoint, the coin provides invaluable insight into minting processes of the late 1980s, revealing vulnerabilities in plating technology, die alignment, and quality control that are rarely visible in finished products, making it not only a collectible but also a valuable piece of industrial history, and institutions and researchers recognize this significance, further elevating the coin's importance beyond private ownership. And the coin's Denver Mint mark adds another layer of specificity, because mint-specific errors allow collectors to trace issues to particular facilities, time frames, and production runs, narrowing the scope of analysis and reinforcing the idea that this coin represents a unique moment in minting history. And as discussion around the coin has grown, so too has its legendary status, with collectors and enthusiasts debating its origins, its precise classification, and its place among the greatest error coins ever discovered. And these conversations themselves contribute to its value, because prominence and recognition in the numismatic community can dramatically influence demand. Last 1984 1 cent, today on the channel where hidden stories, unbelievable discoveries, and the extraordinary side of everyday objects come together, because today we are exploring one of the most fascinating and mind-bending stories in modern coin collecting, a story that challenges everything we think we know about money, value, and perfection. And that story revolves around a seemingly ordinary 1984 1 cent coin that has reached an astonishing estimated value of $12 million, a figure that sounds almost impossible when paired with a denomination that most people overlook, discard, or leave forgotten in jars and drawers. Yet as we uncover the errors, mistakes, and rare possibilities surrounding this coin, it becomes clear how such a valuation is not only possible but inevitable within the world of high-level numismatics. And to truly understand the magnitude of this coin's worth, we must first step back into the context of 1984, a year when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents using copper-plated zinc planchets, a production method introduced just a couple of years earlier that brought efficiency but also introduced new risks, vulnerabilities, and opportunities for unprecedented errors, because the transition from solid copper to copper-plated zinc required precise bonding, accurate thickness control, and flawless mechanical alignment. And when even one of those elements failed, the result could be a coin unlike any other. And Within that massive sea of routine production emerged a tiny handful of coins that bore the marks of multiple catastrophic failures, and among them, one particular 1984 penny stands apart, not just because of a single mistake, but because of a breathtaking combination of errors that almost never occur together, creating a coin that is effectively unique. And the foundation of this coin's extraordinary value begins with one of the most famous and controversial errors associated with the year 1984, the dramatic double-die obverse, an error that caused the date, lettering, and Lincoln's portrait to appear strongly doubled, but in this exceptional specimen the doubling is far more pronounced than typical examples, extending across nearly every design element in a way that suggests a severe misalignment during the die creation process, meaning the hub impressed the die more than once at noticeably different angles, creating a powerful and unmistakable doubling that cannot be confused with machine doubling or post-mint damage, and this alone would make the coin highly valuable, but the story goes far deeper, because this same coin also displays a severe off-metal strike, having been struck on a planchet that does not conform to standard specifications for a Lincoln cent, resulting in incorrect weight, thickness, and metal composition, an error that required multiple failures in quality control, from the sorting of blanks to the striking process itself, and the combination of a double die obverse with a wrong planchet strike is already extraordinarily rare, but this coin continues to defy probability, because it also shows evidence of a partial collar strike, where the retaining collar that normally ensures a uniform diameter failed to engage properly, causing the coin to spread unevenly outward during striking, creating distorted edges, expanded metal flow, and irregular rim formation that further distinguishes it from any standard or even typical error coin, and as collectors examine the coin, the visual impact is immediately striking, with Lincoln's portrait appearing both doubled and stretched, the lettering showing strong separation and distortion, and the overall shape of the coin deviating noticeably from perfect roundness, creating a dramatic, almost sculptural appearance that captures attention instantly. And beyond these visible features, advanced metallurgical analysis has revealed additional anomalies that push the coin into legendary territory, including irregular copper plating thickness with areas of exposed zinc core, microscopic blistering, and bonding inconsistencies that indicate serious flaws during the electroplating process, flaws that are rarely preserved because such coins often corrode quickly or are removed from circulation, yet in this case the coin survived in remarkably high condition, preserving these features clearly enough to be studied and verified, and condition is a critical factor in determining value. Because error coins that survive without significant wear, damage, or corrosion allow experts to authenticate them with confidence, and in this instance, the coin's preservation amplifies the visibility and legitimacy of every error present, making it a textbook example of multiple catastrophic minting failures converging in a single object, and the improbability of this convergence cannot be overstated, because each of these errors individually is rare, but together they represent a chain of events so unlikely that many experts believe no comparable example exists, and rarity of this magnitude is the cornerstone of the $12 million valuation, because in numismatics, value is driven not by face value or even age, but by how few examples exist and how impossible they are to replicate, and the 1984 penny in question is effectively a one-of-a-kind artifact. And adding to its value is the unmistakable clarity of its date and design elements, because despite the distortions and doubling, the year 1984 is clearly legible, allowing the coin to be definitively identified and categorized, which is essential for serious collectors, as error coins without identifiable dates are often considered curiosities rather than elite collectibles, and this clarity ensures that the coin occupies a recognized place in numismatic history, tied to a specific year, minting process, and error type. And another layer of intrigue comes from the coin's discovery and provenance, because it was not uncovered in a controlled or ceremonial environment, but rather discovered by chance, reportedly found in ordinary circulation and initially dismissed as damaged until closer inspection revealed its extraordinary nature, and as experts examined the coin and identified the stacking of rare errors, its reputation grew rapidly, drawing attention from high-profile collectors, auction houses, and institutions, all of whom recognized that opportunities to acquire such an object are virtually non-existent, and in high-end collecting, the presence of multiple wealthy and determined buyers can drive values to extraordinary heights, particularly when the object in question is irreplaceable, and this competitive demand plays a significant role in pushing the coin's estimated value to $12 million, and beyond market dynamics, there is also a powerful psychological and cultural element at work, because the idea that a modern penny, something most people handle without thought, can be worth millions captures the imagination in a profound way, transforming the coin into a symbol of hidden potential and overlooked value, and this narrative appeal enhances its desirability even further, because collectors are not merely acquiring metal but a story, a tangible reminder that mistakes, accidents, and imperfections can sometimes produce results far more valuable than perfection ever could, and the coin also offers invaluable insight into the minting process itself, serving as a physical record of what can happen when multiple safeguards fail, making it not only a collectible but a piece of industrial history, and researchers and historians value such objects because they reveal vulnerabilities and challenges in large-scale manufacturing that are otherwise invisible, and the coin's existence has sparked extensive discussion and debate within the numismatic community, with experts analyzing every aspect of its creation, classification, and implications, and these discussions themselves contribute to the coin's prominence and value, because recognition and consensus among experts solidify its status as a legendary artifact, and as more people learn about the coin, its story spreads beyond specialist circles into popular culture, further enhancing its mystique and desirability. And when we consider the broader implications, the 1984 1-cent coin challenges conventional ideas about money and worth, reminding us that value is not inherent but assigned based on rarity, significance, and human fascination, and it encourages collectors and casual observers alike to look more closely at the ordinary objects around them, because within the everyday there may still be extraordinary stories waiting to be discovered, and the coin's $12 million valuation is not just a reflection of its errors, but of everything those errors represent, including chance, history, human oversight, and the enduring allure of the unique, and it is important to note that such valuations are not static, because as modern era coins gain greater recognition and appreciation, and as fewer opportunities exist to acquire truly unique specimens, the value of such coins can continue to rise, adding another layer of possibility and intrigue to the story. And this potential future appreciation further cements the coin's status as one of the most remarkable discoveries in modern numismatics, and ultimately, the 1984 1-cent coin stands as a powerful testament to the idea that even the smallest and most overlooked objects can achieve extraordinary significance when circumstances align, reminding us that perfection is not always the goal.